Hey everybody, this is Christy Furio with Keys to the Shop. I'm glad to have you here on another episode focused on topics and stories around COVID-19 in the industry. Today we are really privileged to be able to talk with Erica Escalante of the Arrow Coffee House in Portland, Oregon. She is a past guest on this show for Founder Friday. I'll link to that episode in the show notes. I think it would be helpful to listen to as well, especially for context here. But if there's one thing that Erica is not a stranger to, it's experiencing and overcoming setbacks. And it's taught her a lot about being resilient, acting quickly, and maintaining connection with her community and her staff in the process. And that's kind of the theme here. And exhibits a vulnerability that allows us to see the heart of an owner that is at tension with the realities that we face right now. And so it's such a powerful conversation with Erica. And my hope here is that it helps you feel seen, it helps inspire you, equip you, and give you hope for the future of your business as we fight through these things together. So here now is my conversation with Erica Escalante of the Arrow Coffee House in Portland, Oregon. Erica, welcome back to the show. I'm really pleased to be able to talk with you right now. How are you doing?
Oh, hi. It's exciting to be back on the show. I am doing all right. I think there's definitely an emotional roller coaster right now of feelings. And, but right now I'm feeling pretty good. Our staff is doing well. And so today is a happy day.
Okay. I'm really glad that you're feeling happy. And that is refreshing to hear. And I know, and I have it in the show notes, your past episode on the show. If anyone's familiar with your story, there's a history of overcoming some obstacles when it comes to the Arrow. And I know that, this is one of those things that seems like it's one in a long line of things that you're needing to adapt to and to overcome. Is that the way it feels to you?
Yes. I'm a little tired, but, it is. I always feel like maybe I would get to this point where things would just kind of coast, and it just never seems to happen that way for me. But maybe that will never come exactly. But this is a really hard time. This is really hard, like probably one of the hardest things I think I've been through with my company, if not the hardest thing.
Yeah, the first, it seems from the past episode, you had that closure of, disincorporation of the town where your original store was, and you dropped like 20% of your business, I think, and that led to your commissary kitchen. So are you calling back a few of those lessons learned from that experience to deal with this thing?
Actually, I am. Yeah. So my first location, our next door neighbor, which was like a huge part of our business, was City Hall. The city decided to close City Hall, and we had lost a big chunk of business. I do feel like that has changed the way that I have attacked this. I think I learned last time that before I took too long to figure out what to do, I feel like many owners, we have so many ideas kind of running in our brains at all times, but it takes a long time to actually execute those ideas. And so this time when COVID-19 started going, it was like immediately I was like, nope, I need a plan of action. And I just jumped in. I charged my credit card with things that I knew I was going to need to get through it. And it has definitely made me way more of a take action quickly kind of leader. And I actually really appreciate that now, because I feel very privileged to have gone through the hardship before that has prepared me for this time.
Wow. Privileged to go through the hardship. I like that. It's a great way to look at it. Tell me a little bit about when this started to happen. Now, you said you saw it and you're like, no, I'm going to get a plan of action. I mean, in real time, what are we talking about? You heard the rumblings like what, a month ago, and then you wrote something out, or you planned with your team? How did it practically look?
Yeah. So at the beginning of March, we had one of the best February we've ever had at sales wise. And I'm actually planning this huge rebrand during this time. And I was supposed to take all of March to plan that rebrand. And so I was super excited that February was so good because I was like, we're going to ride this wave into our kind of relaunch of our company. But the first week of March, our business slowed down unusually so the first week of March. And I had called and texted my cafe owner friends in Portland and was like, hey, are you guys slow? I'm really slow this week. Are you slow? Is it, and COVID had been talking about, but I was like, do you think it's because of that? And, the other owners were kind of like, no, I don't think so. Maybe it's spring break. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't think it's that. But like, I kind of knew in my heart, like that something was coming. And I knew that the business was unusually slow. And so I started talking with my team about it. And there was even disagreement on the team, like if COVID was a real thing, if that's why our business was slow, like it was just uncertain. And so at that point in time, I kind of started thinking about what could possibly happen. And so by the second week of March, I think we were already jumping into some major sanitation practices. We had already pulled back our self-serve coffee station. We had already stopped. We had already started wearing gloves at the register. We had kind of already, I put into motion a lot of sanitation issues because I knew that if I felt like I was thinking about coronavirus already, I knew that customers were probably already thinking about it. And it was time to just step up and start those procedures early. And I mean, it feels like daily there was updates all the time about new updates and new updates and new updates. And so at some point, I think I just realized like, this is not going away. This is only going to get worse. And we need to start preparing.
What did you do besides that then? So you already had the gloves on, metaphorically speaking. I feel like that makes sense. So now what do you do to really start the fight there with you mentioned charging up your credit card and your stockpiling and, what's going on there?
Yeah. So I immediately knew that we were not immediate. I guess through that third week, I had closed the doors to our cafe pretty early and we were still accepting orders. But I think it was Sunday last week. I told my manager, I said, we need to move everything online. And so I had stayed up all night making an online store because I was like, I don't want to take any money. I don't want to handle anyone's credit card. I don't want to take any money. Everyone's going to have to move to online ordering. And I'm starting tomorrow, Monday. I'm not going to let anyone inside the store. My manager was even just a little like, what, really? Like, do we really have to do that? And I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And so I built this online store, and it was awful. Last week was terrible. We were doing like maybe a quarter of what we normally do in sales. Mm-hmm. And that was so depressing. I think we were all very scared. I had normally 4 people working that day and it was like a $400 day. And we were just like, oh no.
So you had the same number of staff working or did you already cut?
No, we had the same number of staff working on Monday because we just didn't realize how much it was going to drop so quickly. And so we were just like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I had a big talk with my staff. Fortunately, we are kind of in a spot right now. We're in staff transition. So I only have 3 staff members. I was supposed to hire 2 more people to join the team. And I was going to do that last week. And then I had to kind of not do that. And so we have a really small staff right now anyway. And so I just had to have this talk with them. Like, I don't think this is going away. We're either going to fight for it. We're going to hunker down and fight for it, or y'all are just going to get laid off like right now.
Wow. Okay. So here's the thing. Like in past conversations, you had been pretty vulnerable with your staff. You had talked about the power of being upfront and having strong
Right.
communication. How did that meeting get received as you described the situation? Was it easier since they had already seen what you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just still unreal, and it still feels a little unreal. I think there was a mixture of reaction, like a lot of uncertainty, just like, oh my God, are we going to lose our jobs? I know one person was just like, I feel like I'm going to lose my job any day. Another person felt like I shouldn't be leaving my house right now. Everyone says I should be staying home. Why am I at work? And another person just like, oh no, I need money to live. Like, what are we going to do? But also conflicted about what the right thing to do is. Is it right to stay open? Is it okay to stay open? But what are we going to do about money? Like, how are we going to pay our bills? And so I think there was a mixed reaction there. And ultimately, I did have, so out of my 3 staff members, I did have one person opt to stay home and not want to work at this time. They asked me to lay them off. And that's completely understandable. I think they take public transit. I think, that does sound scary and unsafe. And so it was a good conversation to have where they were able to let me know their answers later that day. But the other 2 wanted to stay. They wanted to work. And so at that point, we just came up with a plan.
Okay, so you have the 2 staff members now. And for those who don't know, the original location that you had, that is, you only have the commissary kitchen location right now. You'd sold the original location, correct?
I did. Yeah, I did sell. My first location was out in the suburbs of Portland, and I sold it in September. So that's gone. And
Congrats.
I just have my inner Northeast Portland location that is also a commissary kitchen.
Okay. So just wanted to clear that up. If we're talking,
sure.
People thinking 2 cafes and 2 baristas,
Yeah.
it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
So take me into the thinking of that tension between wanting to do good by health recommendations. Like, if everybody that's behind a podium on the news had their way, we'd all be just in our living rooms eating ice cream right now, right? But there's, you're an entrepreneur, and you're not, and so many are not, the type of people that go down without a fight. And but there's a perception of, is it the right thing? Like, how will people perceive your brand as being, perpetuating something or fighting for something? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I feel conflicted every day. I wake up, I read the news, I read so many social media posts about very, very opinionated people. But ultimately, from reading what's going on in the world, this is a worldwide issue. It's every owner's decision for themselves and for their staff. If my entire staff said, no, we're not working, I would not be working right now. I would have also closed. But I had 2 staff members who we had very long, in-depth conversations about what was happening in the world. And from our reading from scientists and World Health leaders, many, many, many countries have even been on lockdown and still allowed restaurants to operate. And now my cafe is not just coffee and tea. We also do breakfast, we do lunch, and we have a full bakery, and we offer all kinds of other products. We have locally made products from all over, including coffee and dog treats and all kinds of things. And so for us, reading that restaurants were still considered essential, that it was okay to stay open, and then just reading the science about how viruses are passed along, which is actually, it's really hard to pass a virus in food. Viruses don't live on porous surfaces for very long. For example, cardboard, it may last 24 hours versus like plastic or metal could last 3 days. But in food, it is very, very slim chance to pass a virus into food. And so the risk is very low. And so as a team, we had to talk and and decide and commit together that, one, we were going to practice social distancing when we weren't at work. We were not going to expose ourselves to more people than necessary. And so that means even my house with my children and my partner and our housemate, they also had to commit to social distancing and staying home, as well as my staff. And we had to have that conversation. And that played into whether or not we felt like it was right to stay open. The other part of that decision is how big our space is. We have a very large kitchen. We have 1,000 square foot kitchen and 1,000 square foot cafe. We can successfully work with 3 people on and not really be next to each other. There are moments we have to pass by each other, but for the most part, we can keep our distance and work and feel good and not feel like we're in such close quarters together. And that also played into this decision. So you kind of look at the broader picture about what is the information we have from our leaders? Are they saying it's okay? And what are they giving us? What advice are they giving us? And so, for example, our county sent us a flyer giving us some extra health guidelines of what to follow and what to be sure to clean. Make sure you're cleaning your phone all the time. Make sure you're wiping down all the surfaces. Make sure you're doing X, Y, and Z. And that's really helpful for us. But ultimately, it's the big picture. Who are you serving? A lot of people were serving medical workers and they don't have time to cook, or they're exhausted and they don't feel safe going to the grocery stores. And some of them are even isolated from their families and they just want a sandwich, and
just want a freaking sandwich.
And a latte, which is fair. I think they should have that. And so for us, when we're talking about essential services, we had to decide, are we an essential service? And we came to the conclusion that we are actually an essential service for this neighborhood. We're surrounded by homes. People are trying to stay home and they're trying to do the right thing. And that, I think, us working and offering the services that we are makes it easier for them to stay home. They're tired of being home and they're tired, but giving them a latte, they're like, oh, I could be home and have a latte. And we've heard that from many people.
Yeah, that was my next question here really is, how have people reacted to your efforts to continue serving? Has it been a great reaction? Has anything really surprised you in the way the community has reacted?
Both ends of the spectrum for sure. Every day we have customers that they write in their order notes just how much they appreciate us being open, how much we've encouraged our community, how much of a light we're being. And that is really, really special. I so much appreciate that. And just, even just you're making quarantine easier by offering your services, which I didn't add. We are offering pickup, curbside or car pickup, but we're also offering delivery within a 1-mile radius. So I am driving orders to people's houses in our immediate neighborhood. And with that service, people have very much just been so appreciative that hey, I want to quarantine. Thank you so much for dropping this off on my porch so that I could stay home. And so that is one end of the spectrum where I feel like our customers, our direct community absolutely appreciates that we are here and that we're working and that we're offering the services that we are. On the other end of the spectrum, the biggest battle that I have had is with other business owners. Oh. They're the ones that have had the loudest and harshest opinions towards me. And that was quite shocking. I was really surprised.
Are treating you like you're perpetuating the virus. You're making it unsafe for all of us. That type of stuff.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yes. I've had people just be like, "You're killing people." Wow. And just how dare you stay open? You should be doing whatever you can to close. Things like that, where I've been shocked at the amount of the amount of other business owners and the judgment that has been towards us. To me, I don't think there is a right answer. It's a really hard decision no matter what you're doing. But to have other business owners react that way, it's just strange to me. But
well, your position, like you said, it's hard, and it's almost that damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if you close down, you lose all of these baristas, and then there's this grievance against, now there's no place for people to go when this thing, blows over, when it blows over. And it's a unique position to be in as an owner. And you can understand, I guess, in the landscape of authority and in coffee bars and restaurants, it's people have very cynical views about, ownership and management, but, I guess the camaraderie that you should feel from other owners is you've had to make a hard decision too, and shouldn't really begrudge you to make what's right for you and your business, because that's life or death too.
Right. And, it's weird too, because I've had owners say, like, you should just get a loan and close so that you're not hurting anybody. That's just not an option. Like I literally don't have an option to get just a loan. I'm 29 years old. I don't really own anything except my coffee shop. You cannot just get a loan for $25,000 plus. It's just not available.
I like the word just get a loan.
Just get a loan. And I realize that there are companies out there that can do that. Like this person literally told me, well, I got a $25,000 loan. You should do that too. And that's just not an option. And honestly, though, the money was not the decision necessarily for us to stay open. It wasn't. It was mostly about the employees. What do we do about these people that I love very, very much? Like I very deeply care for my employees. I'm very careful not to call them family necessarily, but I do really care about them, and I care about their well-being. And literally, like the day after we had this discussion with my team, unemployment was already, the next day is when the governor had announced, some things in the state where all of a sudden everyone was having mass layoffs. And it was like, my team is going to struggle if I just lay them off. And so if they are willing to continue to work and they also think it's the best decision, then I also agree. And I think it's the best decision, and I will fight for them. Because me staying open, I'm not getting paid. Like I'm not getting paid right now to do this. I'm not making profit. I'm not making money. I'm still deferring a lot of bills. But I am able to pay their paychecks. And so at that point, it's their decision just as much as it was mine.
What would you say at this point is the hardest thing for you to deal with on a mental and emotional level as the leader here?
I think right now for me is the fact that I'm not home with my kids right now a lot. That is weighing on me a lot because my daughter is home from school. And that just makes it harder that my partner is taking on that responsibility to be there for our kids. And it feels weird being away from them at this time where there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of changes and there's a lot of unknown. There's so many days where I have felt like I just wanted to be home with my family, and I'm tearing up even just talking about it because it is a scary time. We don't know what's going to go on in the world. We don't know the answers. And so as a leader, just having to make a decision based on what I feel like is right now. And that comes with some sacrifice. It comes with internally feeling conflicted. And that's part of being a leader, is that you can't just make right decisions all the time. Sometimes you have to just choose a way and decide to go that way. And for right now, that's what we've chosen. And that, I think that's the hardest part.
Wow, man, I feel for you. And it's, I think, similar to what a lot of leaders are going through right now. Because they're fighting, like you say, for their staff and also literally for their families too. Their literal families, and their business is what creates a lot, the ability to live. And right. So it's not just a matter of saying just do this or just do that. Or
No.
Dealing in absolutes, I don't think is one of the things that we can do at this point because we don't know. You're right.
Yeah, we don't. But here are some things I do know is that one, there's like in Portland right now, there's a moratorium on evictions. That's only residential evictions. There is no commercial relief yet. There is there isn't a lot of options for business owners. And even if the right decision was to close, I would still be on the hook for many, many years of this lease, of my business loans, of my utilities, of all these other things that I am financially committed to. That will affect my children for many, many, many years. Whatever decisions I make now, through this time, whatever the outcome is, will affect my children for a very long time. And so that plays into a lot of the decision of even just being away from them right now. Why am I away from you? Because I have to fight and I have to make sure and secure our future and do what I feel like is the right thing to do, so that when I look back on this time, I can say, I did the best that I could.
I want to know, what do you want to say to other owners out there who are in the same spot you're in? They're pivoting. They're doing online ordering. They're doing curbside service. They're doing what I think specialty coffee retailers do best, which we always are adapting to things like throughout the history of our coffee shops. Like you say, you've kind of trained for this through the adversities that you've had. How would you advise people to sort of tap into that? What kind of things would you say are the most helpful things to focus on right now to get through it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, number one, you need to focus on health and safety. You need to think about the distance you have between you and your staff. You need to remind them to wash their hands. You need to wipe down the surfaces. You don't get lazy when it comes to health and sanitation. And then minimize the risk as much as possible. For example, we don't let anyone in our store at all, period. No one is allowed inside except for the employees. And how can we do that and also have great service and have a fully functioning cafe? It takes creativity and innovation. And right now, there's no better time really to start putting your ideas into place. So if you have an idea, just try it. And for me, that meant charging stuff on a credit card just to see what could happen and just try my best, right? Like I'm just trying my best. And if it fails, then it fails, but at least I can look back and say that I tried. So for us, all of the doors are locked. No one is allowed inside. And so at first, the first week, we were constantly, someone would put an order online and walk up to the door and we'd have to run to the door and just say, hey, what's your name? Close the door, run back, grab their order, run back to the door, give it out. And within day one, I was like, nope, I'm tired of this. So, and so for me, I went online and I found a drive-through speaker box system for $600. And I paid extra money to have it overnight shipped to us. And then I remembered I had like a menu signage frame in the basement. So I pulled that up and then I quickly had a friend make me some signage and quickly had the printers print it and, orchestrated this big thing. So now when you walk up to our door, there's a nicely framed printed sign and a speaker box and we can say, hello, welcome to the Arrow. What's the name on your order? And oh my gosh, it has saved us so much time running to that damn door. And also, I'm just kind of fulfilling my childhood dreams of running some sort of drive-through restaurant. So I get to be like, hello, what can I get for you?
That's awesome. All the employees on roller skates.
That's the next step. But I did just break my arm in the fall. I'm not ready to break it again.
That's right. Oh, gosh, Erica.
Yeah, it's been a rough, last year. So,
yeah.
But, that was the idea I had. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. It's $600. I'm going to charge it on my credit card, but I'm just going to try because if not, we're just going to keep running to the door. And we already, within the first few days of changing our entire business model, we all felt emotionally and mentally and physically exhausted. And that's very real exhaustion. And so I said, what can we do to minimize the exhaustion? We're going to rework our bar. We're going to rework our ordering system. We're going to rework the way that people pick things up. We have to start. It's like setting up a brand new shop all over again. It's redoing all the systems. It's redoing the bar flow. It's redoing the procedures to pack everything to go. And it's like, okay, we're going to clear off this table. We're going to move it here so we have a packing station. We're going to move this out of the way so that we can have a stamping station. And we're going to do all these different things. And then also, how can we still provide really excellent customer service? We're going to write personal notes on each bag, little thank you, and then their name, just to add some element of connection of like, yes, we are here with you.
Yeah.
We are still humans and we're all trying to connect. We started being way more fun on our social media account because everything was so gloomy on Instagram. And we just felt like we wanted to connect with people very real on social media. And so we started doing funny videos to like just connect with people. I don't even care if they buy anything. We just wanted to try to connect with our community. And it's been so fun just to like, man, it feels like a release right now of having to do everything the way that specialty coffee was, which is make everything look perfect and seem perfect from the outside, make everything seamless. And like right now, it's very nitty gritty and real. And so that's so freeing.
And you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation that you just had learned to take action quickly. And that's exactly what you did. And also of note is the fact that you're creating systems to support this as though it's permanent and not sort of throwing it together and not optimizing it. Like you're optimizing your systems and creating the new normal for the foreseeable future until something changes. But you're also looking after those connections. It's not just about getting the money and shooing people off. I love that you're just trying to preserve that connection through this, because I guess in essence, that is your brand. That's your business.
Right. We feel so strongly about that. It's a special time where not only are we feeling upset and sad and emotional, but we know that our community is also feeling that way. So there have been many days where I'm literally crying, making espresso and passing off to customers, and they go, "It's okay, you're going to make it through." And I'm like, "You too." I had customers, they called in their order and they're standing outside. I can see them and they're crying and I'm making their latte and I'm like, "It's okay. I'm upset too." And we're crying together and I hand off their latte and say goodbye. And we're all going through huge emotions right now. And it feels good to connect, with our customers in other ways. And so, and that's my mission. It feels good to see my coworkers right now. It feels good to talk with them and to make sure they're okay. And it has felt really good to work, and it has felt really good. When I'm doing deliveries, I just leave it on the porch. I'll do 3 knocks, but then I go back to my car. I don't wait around, and I get in my car and I can see them coming out in their pajamas and we do a little wave and I drive off. And I'm like, I've seen this customer every day for like a year, but never in their pajamas. Yeah. And there have been customers I've driven to their house every single day this last week, and I have no idea who they are because I don't recognize their name and I don't ever see them pick up their orders. So I do text them. I get in my car, I drive away, I text them saying, "Hey, just want to make sure you saw your order on the porch," and they'll send me gifts back or little pictures or thank you, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a very new way of connecting with other people. A new customer service way of doing things. But it is comfort. I mean, I last week got takeout from my favorite restaurant in Portland. It's called Dame. And I went and got takeout and I literally took a bite and just started sobbing because it was the best meal I've ever had. Like it felt so comforting and so good. And I don't regret getting takeout at all. And it gave me such a light in my heart to be eating food like that. And I think sometimes in this discussion, when we are talking about um, health and safety, I think we're forgetting how much food and connection with food changes a lot of our mental wellness. It changes our hearts. It does. And that's why we love our job, that connection to food and beverage. And so, I know there's customers we're serving with crippling depression right now, and they can't leave their house. And bringing them a latte changes things. And I think it's okay to recognize that. And again, it's every owner's decision. It's every worker's decision. It should be every worker's decision. And so this is the decision that we have made.
Well, Erica, this has been a fantastic example of just hospitality in the worst of times. You're providing such a great example. I appreciate everything that you're doing for your customers, and also in sharing with us and being out there on social media. You're really benefiting the community as well. And I think we can learn a lot from your example. So thank you for, being open and vulnerable with us here on the show and really encouraging us as we all are getting through this together.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. And if people want to kind of learn more, you can go to my personal Instagram. It's at Escalante_Erica. Or you could just look up Erica Escalante and it will come up. But in my Instagram highlights, it's called Arrow and COVID. And it just talks about the sanitary procedures that we're doing when it comes to deliveries. It talks about how we're being careful of not having cross-contamination of dirty things versus sanitary things, and how we're protecting our customers that way. And then just on our regular Instagram, the Arrow PDX, I'm showing our signage and how our walk-up door works and all those sorts of things too. And so trying to be open about this. I do think this is semi-permanent. I do think that our industry is changing. And so I'm happy to share about how we're doing these and ideas so that our industry can make it through together and that we can start innovating and adjusting to these times.
Thank you so much, Erica. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Well, I really hope that you enjoyed that conversation. I hope that it really spoke to your soul as an owner, as an operator, as a fellow coffee retail professional. These tensions are real, and it's great to see examples of caring and passionate leadership in the midst of it, and responsive leadership in the midst of it. Erica, it just gives us a great example here, and my thanks to Erica for opening up to us on the show and giving us such a great example to be inspired by as we all try to and fight for maintaining the connections with the people that make our businesses what they are. Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you think that this would be helpful for others to hear, please do share this with a friend and spread this message of hope around the industry. We certainly need that. Thank you so much again for tuning into this COVID-19 focused episode series, From Keys to the Shop.